Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Mike DeBoer with the Franchise Business Podcast, and I'm excited to be joined today by Andrew Ritterling. Andrew, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself here in a second, but is someone that I've had the privilege of getting to know and building a relationship with and working with closely. Andrew, if you don't mind just kind of sharing a little bit about yourself and your role as a coach, helping people find the right business for themselves.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mike, hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. So I'm excited about this. My name is Andrew Ritterling, and I live in Kansas City, Missouri. And I work here out of my house. I work from home, and I am a career ownership coach with the Entrepreneur Source. And I've been doing it for, about 3.5 years. I think we're approaching 4 here. And man, it's been a blast. It's been really fun and what I'm able to do. And I can go deeper into that now or wait for later. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, on that note, Andrew, you're someone that helps people kind of, I think, evaluate something that maybe they haven't always thought of, or maybe it's been a pipe dream. Hey, I want to start my own business, but that's not an easy process to begin and to think about. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about kind of your process for kind of understanding people's needs, their dreams, what their interests are, what kind of business they want to get into. I mean, what is your process like to learn about them and help them learn about themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So we spend a lot of time getting to know our clients, getting to know, hey, what are their goals? Where do they want to see themselves or their families? And what is their situation? We also get into their personality and their motivators and their drivers. So I actually spend about 3 meetings, sometimes even 4, just building that foundation, taking them through specific tools and resources to really figure out those things so that we have a really good understanding of who they are and where they want to go in their personal lives and professional lives. And then once we know that, what I'm able to do is show them different opportunities and be able to show them, hey, what's outside of the traditional 9-to-5 job? And is there a way to be your own boss, set your own schedule, and build the lifestyle and the income that you've always wanted? And to your point, most Americans think about business ownership often, but not many actually take the leap in the exploration and actually putting pen to paper, what could work for me. And that's where I like to bridge the gap. Hey, let's figure out if you got this desire and passion, let's see what's possible. Let's really put it to the test and say, is this the right thing for you? So that's what we do. And it's a fun process. It can take several months. It could take a year. It could take weeks. But we want to do the right thing to make sure that every person's taken care of along the discovery process.
Awesome, Andrew. And then, the other thing I think that you provide a lot of value on is there's thousands of franchise models out there. That's a daunting task for someone that's doing this on their own. And I think you and TES are really good at kind of vetting models, and then also kind of vetting, okay, does what this person outlined to me, what their criteria and this model, do they match? So how important is that for you to help vet models for people and then find some options that might be a good fit for them and then help them have conversations with people at those models?
Yeah. What's really fun about that is that, the Entrepreneur Source at a headquarter perspective does a great job of making sure all of our partners, we work with, I think, just under 300 different franchises. They make sure that all of them are going to be educational for our clients. We do not want our clients to have a salesy experience by any means. We want them to learn. So when it goes back to what options can I select my clients to learn about, the fun part is that I'm not smart enough to know the best franchise for them, but I am smart enough to have them learn about a variety of different options that can hopefully help them achieve those goals. But each person is able to engage in those conversations and figure it out for themselves while I'm in the corner helping them. So that's why we go by career ownership coaches, is that we coach people through the discovery and education process so that I'm not the one deciding the best fit for them. They're the ones deciding that. I'm just able to bridge the gap between who they are, where they want to go, and what options can help them get there.
For sure. So absolutely, 100%. And I think that's a big help, because I think if people are making this decision on their own, they might just default to, I have this hobby, so that's a business I should get into, right? Or, hey, whatever is the biggest name brand out there, that's the one I want to do. But there's a lot of good options. and a lot of options that also wouldn't be obvious that they're even franchises to begin with, right? So you can get them
Absolutely.
what's a really big world.
It's kind of like the shiny franchise syndrome, right? People say, what's the newest thing? I get that question a lot. What's the newest, trendiest, up and coming thing? Right. And my response is sometimes those always aren't the best, right? Sure. Sometimes it's the franchise that's not as sexy or maybe not as attractive on the outside, but hey, the lifestyle you can derive and the income you can derive is really more important than what the product or service is. So that's what we try to do, is take all the noise, because everybody's going to have opinions, friends, family, everybody's going to give you their thoughts and opinions. We're going to take the noise out of it, really pull back the curtain and understand what's the reality and the truth and what is just emotions and feeling. And we got to make sure it exposes all those aspects to get them to that point of clarity of understanding.
For sure, 100%. And on that note, Andrew, I mean, I'm sure maybe you've been lucky and you've never had any, challenging client with maybe, and then you're lucky if you haven't, but I'm sure you have. And that, what could be challenging is, hey, they have a hard time, even thinking about themselves in business ownership, or they have a hard time thinking about what might be the right fit for them, or they have a hard time kind of, maybe paralysis by analysis, whatever it is. Do you have an example, without naming names, of course, a challenging kind of situation with a client that you help them get through, get them in the right model, and they've been successful in that business ever since?
Yeah, I think every client presents their own set of challenges, right? And it can be anything from financing to spouse support, family support, income needs, lifestyle needs. I mean, there's always some challenges that go along with it. But there's a couple people that I worked with where we went through 3 or 4 different concepts. We went really far, and they said, "Hey, Andrew, I just don't think that franchising's for me." We would talk about why. Well, what did you learn? And there's a lot of misconceptions on social media and things like that, saying, "Hey, set a business, set it and forget it, and make income while you sleep." Well, some of those might be true. A lot of them are over glamorized in the social media scene, right? So franchises require hard work, no matter what you're doing, semi-absentee, full-time. There's going to be a level of hard work involved. So sometimes people get gun shy to say, "Hey, this isn't for me. I want to do something else," or an MLM that's been successful. So with that, I've had one person in particular looked at a couple franchises, said, "Hey, I don't think franchising's for me." But I said, "Well, let's keep learning. Let's keep validating it." And then we switch gears to a more absentee work from home model that is a very flexible franchise. And it seemed to work really well for her. So sometimes the answer is not just to give up. Sometimes the answer is to push through. And if I can give a little success story of a client, she wasn't necessarily difficult, but a success story that I really, really appreciate was I worked with a lady who worked in the cafeteria of a senior living facility. And when we went through her goals and objectives, her main goal was to start a family. She said, "Hey, I'm just too busy, too stressed and overwhelmed to really begin to start a family." So we found her a business model where she's been very successful ever since. And then she called me about 6 months later after starting the business and said, "Andrew, I'm now starting a family. I'm pregnant and expecting my first baby." And that to me was where the light bulb moment went off, is, hey, we're not in the business of helping people get into business. We're in the business of helping people find the lifestyle, the income that they're looking for. And the business is simply a tool, right? We're leveraging in that. So it was just a great example of how her goals were not to make $1 million. It was to start a family. So that's a really that's a success story that comes to mind all the time. I love
that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think, I'm sure that's very rewarding for you to be able to help people get there and help them get to the life that they wanted to live, that maybe corporate or the job they had wasn't giving them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Andrew, I'm also kind of interested to hear a little bit about maybe some misconceptions that you commonly run into, because I know on my side of this world, there's a lot of misconceptions people either have about business ownership or franchising specifically. So any kind of common things you run into, and then how do you help people overcome those misconceptions they do have?
Yeah, that's a big topic. I love that. And there's just hundreds of different misconceptions, right? So when we start out, a lot of times people come from corporate America, right? They've had a job or jobs, in the last several 10 years or so. And I think there's a misconception that you need that 9 to 5 security of a paycheck, right? Some people do. Some people need that corporate role and they need the paycheck. But I do believe that there's some volatility that we've seen over the last 10, 20, 30 years in the corporate America market, where there's also risk, right? You can lose your job overnight. So when people say, hey, I can't look at business because I need the security of a paycheck, the question is, well, how secure is that paycheck and how much control do you have if the economy does take a downturn or something were to happen, right?
Sure.
So I think it's overcoming the mindset that, hey, I need all my benefits. I need to contribute to my 401k. I need the paycheck. Right. Switching that to a mindset of, hey, can I grow the equity in a business to where not only can it produce for me now and into the future, but upon exit, can I sell that for an asset, right? And I think under the franchising umbrella, a lot of people think, hey, if I'm a franchise owner, I don't own it. It's not my business. The franchisor owns it and I'm just a cog in the wheel. Well, that's not true, right? As a franchisee, it is your business and you own it. Now it's a partnership and there is a level of oversight, right? However, you're building equity into what you're doing. And a lot of times the best business people go on for an exit strategy, multiple of what they invested into it. So that's really that's kind of a long answer to the question, but it's about getting out of that 9 to 5 paycheck scenario and saying, hey, is there a way to really leverage my skills, my passions, my abilities into building something of equity where I have more control, right? There's fear and there's risk in that, but there's fear and risk in corporate America. So in other words, you have to choose your hard, right? Which hard will give you the best outcome. And that's the stuff we got to learn about. What is the best thing for you and your family?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe sometimes people are a little bit kind of weary to talk about exit before they're even in, but in reality, it's as important as revenue generation, if not more important, right? Because at some point you're going to move on, right? Health wise, or you've made that decision, or you've got to the age where you're ready to move on. You want something to sell, and that's important. Exit strategy. Awesome.
And if I can add one more,
of course,
misconception, right? In the world of business, sometimes people have a lens of which they see business. For example, a lot of people have parents or grandparents who are business owners, and they say, hey, I don't want to be like my grandfather who worked 80 hours a week, didn't have time for his family, and barely made it by in his business. So I think they put that as their filter of how they view business, right? And everybody's got different stories. Some are success, some are failure, some are just working hard and seeing a parent or grandparent do that, right? So I think it's also a challenge to say that's not the case for every business model, right? And one of the benefits of using a franchise is that they have it all ready to roll for you, right? It's a business in a box, so to speak. In my example, I got out of corporate America and found this business model that works for me. I don't work nearly as hard in my business as I did in corporate America, and I was able to well surpass my earning potential. So not always is the lens of which somebody sees business accurate. And there could be business models that work for them. And that's another challenge, is to say, is this true? Is it a fear or is it not true? And once we shed some light on it, is it a valid fear or not? Right.
For sure.
So I just want to throw that in there because there's a lot of misconceptions that are out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think sometimes people, a healthy dose of fear is never a bad thing, right? It helps us make good decisions, but I think sometimes people forget you've been very successful in your corporate career up to this point. There's no reason why that success won't continue in this business that you're starting. If you work hard, you follow systems, you follow the training that you get. I think people forget, they think they think too much about their own limitations and not how great they've been at what they've done up to this point.
You're exactly right. The things that made you successful thus far aren't going to leave you. Those are the very things that are going to help you be successful in your own thing. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to tap into. And fear is healthy if it's in check, but
for sure. Not if it's paralyzing, right? Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Absolutely. Awesome, Andrew. Well, my last sort of thing I like to ask is if there's someone watching this, maybe that is thinking, corporate, it's not for me anymore. I'm not as fulfilled, or I don't have the time I want with my family or to do what I want to do flexibility wise. And they're maybe thinking of making the jump, maybe utilizing someone like you to learn about business ownership. What would you say, kind of parting words for that person that might be watching?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say discovery is key. A great peer of mine, another coach, coined the term "discovery is undefeated." And I think that is so true, that discovery is absolutely undefeated. And you have to take the next step of that learning. And again, really validate, are my fears, concerns, and worries really true? Or maybe they're just not true. And maybe there is something for you. So I would say put great people in your corner, whether it's me, I'd love to chat with you. I know several other coaches that would love to chat with you. Get good people in your corner that you rely on, that are going to be honest with you and not give you the friend answer or the yes man answer, but they can really guide you and coach you and be honest with you, so that you are able to explore those avenues in an open-minded way, right? That's key. So get out there, do it. Don't let fear cripple you, but really shed light on those fears and see if it's true. And that's what somebody like me could do.
For sure. Even if it's not the right fit, at least you took time to learn and do your due diligence, right?
Yep.
And I think that's why discovery is undefeated. So,
yeah,
Andrew, where can people find you if they do want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have, hopefully we can provide some links too with this video.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll post these with links, but I have a LinkedIn page, a website. And then in that, all those are going to say schedule a call. There's going to be a link to my schedule. I would encourage somebody listening to this that wants to have a chat, book a 30-minute chat with me, whether it's over a Zoom or a phone call. Let's get to know you. Let's understand where you're at in life. Let me answer any questions you have and see if we're a good fit to work together, right? And it is a no fee service. I never charge a dime to my clients, anybody that I'm working with. It's absolutely free to work with me, but we want to make sure it's the right thing for you. So book some time on my calendar, 30 minutes. Let's have a chat, see if this would be beneficial. And I'd love to see if I could add value.
Awesome. And I can attest, Andrew, that anyone that works with you is in good hands. You're good at what you do. And a really trusted advisor for people that are dipping their toes in this world. So thanks for being on. I really appreciate the conversation. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Such an honor. I appreciate it.
You got it, Andrew. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Again, this is Mike with Andrew on the Franchise Business Podcast. Thanks, guys.